So good morning, everyone. I think people are coming in. So I will start by shortly introducing our speakers today. So today we are going to hear from Sebastian and Anne. They are from WAILA, a Swedish company, and they're gonna tell us about their experience with the asparagus plantation using biochar as a fertilizer in Gotland. So Sebastian holds a diploma in industrial engineering with focus on energy and environmental management, and he has a doctoral degree in agricultural science. Hanne holds a diploma in landscape ecology and nature protection, and she worked in various nature protection agencies in Germany. So yeah, this is just to welcome our speakers, welcome all of the attendees. As usual, if you want to ask questions, you can use the Q&A function or the chat to write directly to the panelists. And yeah, we will ask the questions to the speakers at the end of the presentation. So I think that's it. So I leave the floor to Anne and Sebastian.
Thanks a lot for the invitation and for the introduction, Julia. I hope you hear me well. You hear as well. If not,
yes, perfect. Thank you.
Very good. Yeah, today we want to present a project called Ecologis. It's a project that we carried out for to analyze the effects of biochar fertilizer in a commercial asparagus plantation, and yeah, we just go into the topic directly now.
Yeah, first yeah. I also want to like to thank you to inviting us and send my congratulations to the 1-year webinar anniversary, and we're happy that we can hold the presentation on your anniversary. Let me briefly introduce you to WAILA. WAILA is a word of Gothic origin, and it means in a good manner. We want to use our creativity and knowledge to protect the environment, nature, and the climate. The ambition of our business activities is a significant net removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And WAILA is already climate positive today.
Shortly on myself, I'm one of the founders and shareholders of WAILA AB. I wrote a PhD thesis on biochar system, which was supervised by Professor Bruno Glaser in Halle and Professor Peter Quicker in Aachen. So I've been working with applied biochar research since 2009 and earned a doctor in agricultural sciences.
I myself am the other founder and shareholder of WAILA AB. I graduated in landscape ecology at Greifswald University in Germany. I'm also a trained lumberjack, and since 3 years I'm focusing on biochar production and application of biochar in agriculture and horticulture. Now I'd like to introduce the project Ecologis. The middle part of the word coal is Swedish for coal, and the goal of our project was to demonstrate the beneficial impacts of biochar substrates on soil fertility, and there we focused on nitrogen storage and carbon storage and harvest, which is most interesting for the farmers. Then we analyzed the water management and the impact on the water management with focus on water storage capacity, and impact on climate change with focus on carbon sequestration. The setup of the project was mainly based on a field trial, which we implemented on an asparagus plantation here on Gotland, in the middle of Gotland. And we want to analyze the difference between biochar application and control. And we compared 2 different nitrogen-loaded biochar substrates, and we compared 2 different biochar concentrations. Yes, here you can see on the drone picture the field trial in the foreground. The field trial was about 0.6 hectares. And if you focus a bit on the picture, you can see some plots there we applied biochar. So it looks a bit like a chess pattern. When we was planning the project, we put a strong emphasis on the local anchoring. And it was important for us to work together with local partners. The project was financed by Leader Gute, which is Leader agency here on Gotland. You might be familiar with Leader financing. This is Leader is a EU initiative for supporting the rural development in the member states. Another project partner was the Swedish University of Agriculture, and there we had Erik Kaltun within the team, who has a lot of experience in biochar field trials. Another partner was the Gotland Grön Centrum, which is a local agriculture education centrum. Yes, thank you. And of course, we had the farmer, Stenhuset Gård, and another expert, Daniel Fischer from Germany. It's an expert in biochar and compost.
Just one note on the photo that you've seen before. This was before the biochar dikes had been covered again. So of course, we put the biochar in the ground, and then it was covered by soil. But a bit more on the trial design. It's said 0.6 hectare large, 77 by 75 meters. And Daniel Fischer developed this double randomized Latin square trial design with 5 treatments and 5 repetitions. It was a 2-year-old plantation, so that's why we decided to concentrate the biochar in 2 rows, in 2 dikes besides each asparagus row. If you would have a new plantation, then of course you put the biochar under the new asparagus seedlings. To describe the treatments, or before describing the treatments, it's important to know that this is, as I said, a commercial plantation. So you normally have the harvest in spring, and then in summer the remaining asparagus plants grow large. It looks like bushes, and then they take up most of the nitrogen, and then the farmer is also fertilizing with nitrogen. So this had already been happening in 2018 in the summer, that the whole trial field and all the surrounded the field on site is much larger than the part of the field that we use for our trial. So this whole area had already been received nitrogen fertilizer, and we then started with our trial in autumn 2018. And what we did is that we put 2.5 ton per hectare of biochar fertilizer on those dark green spots. So this is Swedish biochar from agricultural residues blended with liquid manure. And the half amount of this blending, 1.25 ton of dry mass biochar on the light green spots. We had another treatment, which was a product that we bought from Germany, which was a blend of hardwood biochar, organic nitrogen, this is vinasse, and effective microorganisms. And this was put on the blue spots here on the trial description. So we had 4 ton dry mass biochar on the dark blue spots and 2 tons dry mass biochar on the light blue treatments. We also put calcium nitrate on the control treatments, and this was corresponding to 34.4 kilogram, and this corresponds to the organic nitrogen that we added on the CP high treatments. So those are directly comparable in terms of nitrogen input. We sent in the manuscript with the trial results to the Journal of Soil Science and Plant Nutrition. It's a Springer journal, and after a long review process, has it now been accepted for publication. There are some minor graphical things that have still to be corrected, but we think that the results will be published at the end of the year at the latest. I now get into the trial results with the first focus on soil fertility. We part of the soil samples has been taken by ourselves, by Anne and me, and also the SLU carried out soil sampling. You see it here on the right side of the picture, and those soil samples were taken mainly with the goal to get information on soil water storage capacity. I'll start with the results on pH. Normally, if you apply biochar, you increase pH. Not in our case. We are sitting here on a gigantic limestone block on Gotland, and we have very high pH. We have a very high pH value in the ground. And now we are adding a substrate with biochar and other components, which has a high pH value, but it's anyway lower than the surrounding soil. So what we did, we in fact decreased the pH value after application. So T0, this is before application, T1 is after application. And this was beneficial for the asparagus because asparagus likes it a bit more acidic in the ground. From T1 till T2, which is about 5 months later, we saw another decrease in pH, and we tried to find out what the reason is, but we couldn't come up with a good explanation. Of course, for the climate, the soil organic carbon content is crucial. And what you see here is for the 5 treatments, always control on the left one, the white, and we have CP low, ATS low, and we have the high volume CP high and ATS high. What you see there, I think we should use the point otherwise, because now you see the point a bit. So this is the total carbon content in the soil, and then it's differentiated between the inorganic carbon content and the organic carbon content. And of course, organic carbon is now most important for us as we're talking about biochar. And it's not a surprise that we're increasing the organic carbon content in the soil when we're applying biochar that we had expected. We were surprised that we even saw a significant increase in the soil organic carbon content between this point in time and T2, which is about 5 months later. So we had another small increase from T1 and T2, which is not related to an additional input of biochar, and the buildup of soil humus surrounding the biochar particles could be one explanation for that. Now let's get to the nitrogen in the ground. First, focus on ammonium nitrogen in the ground. What you're seeing here is the amount of ammonium nitrogen in the ground about 5 months after the biochar application, and we should now focus on the control and this CP high treatment, because here we added exactly the same amount of nitrogen 5 months earlier, and it's really interesting to see that there is much more ammonium nitrogen in the ground 5 months after application. So it seems like we had less losses of ammonium nitrogen to the water or to the air. If we are looking on, if we're focusing on soil on nitrogen nitrate, we also have a little bit more nitrogen nitrate in the ground left after 5 months, and we have much more on the other treatments, and here we have to take into consideration that we also had added a bit more nitrogen in the ground in the beginning, but this difference does not explain the large difference of the results here. So for sure, do we also see a nitrogen storage effect on the other treatments? And both results are, of course, interesting for the farmers, since you're using nitrogen for asparagus farming, so it's probably possible to save some nitrogen, but also, especially in Gotland, we do have a water scarcity problem. It's getting quite warm in the summer here, and we don't have so much precipitation, so there's a strong focus to both to save water, but also to have a good water quality. And if we could decrease nitrate leakage to the groundwater, it's definitely an advantage. But let's focus more on the other water aspects. We had really dry conditions on Gotland in 2018 and 2019, and this is now the data for 2019, and this is the soil water content end of April, after I think a month of drought condition, and there we have higher soil water contents in all biochar treatments. Of course, what is more interesting for the farmers is the plant available soil water storage between pH 4.2 and 1.7, and now we differentiate here in our, it's getting really light. We differentiate here on the soil water storage on the whole of the trial field, and you see that we're increasing soil water storage compared to control with all biochar treatments, which was very nice and helpful in this year. But you also see that so this site, it's already on sandy, yeah, on sandy soil, but we noticed during the trial that one part of the field was even more sandy than the rest, was nearly desert-like, and we also made an extra assessment there, and then we're seeing that water storage increased even more on this part of the field. I got shortly back to the first slide that you're just seeing what I'm talking about. So this, it was exactly those 5 plots where the soil is even more sandy, and yeah, their biochar was also more beneficial. You're seeing it also here that it partly looked a bit like on Mars, but yeah. So then we come to the harvest, and we have harvest results for 2019 that we also give a short insight into the summary, but we also have the harvest results for then 2020 that I'll talk a bit more of now. In total, we harvested together with 2 students in 2 years 14,000 asparagus shots, but it was a lot of manual labor, and you have to do it carefully that the results are comparable. What you're seeing here is for 2020, it's the above ground biomass harvested on all the different plots for orientation. So this is north, and this is south, this is west and east, and the white bars is the control, and then you see the other treatments in colors that we used before. So what you can see here is also that in January you have lower yields on this more sandy plots, which is expectable because water storage is in general lower here. But what you also see is that in general that the white control harvest was in general a bit lower than on the other fields. But let's look at it in maybe a more easy way. So what we're seeing here is on the both top pictures is the accumulated dry mass weight of the shoots. So this is the upper 25 centimeters of each shoot. This is what the farmer actually is selling. This is the most important result for the farmer. And what you see is here the harvest of the control, and then CP high treatment, ATS high treatment, and above there is the CP low treatment and the ATS low treatment. So we've seen an increase in yield for all four biochar treatments, and it was about 7% in average. Down there you see the total above ground biomass. So this is just measuring, let's say, from here, from the ground and the whole shoot, and the results are comparable. We have an increase for 3 of the treatments, and here we're around 0. Let's go to the next slide. No. Yeah, no, this is missing. We also measured the amount of shoots on 100 square meters. So here we see that we increased the number of shoots on 3 treatments, and it decreased a bit on this ATS low treatment. And what's also interesting for the farmers that the average fresh weight per shoot also increased on 3 of 4 treatments. And this is nice because you get a bit thicker asparagus shoot on your table if you eat it. But more important for the farmer is that he can sell those shoots for a higher price. The very slim one are sold as soup asparagus with low price, but more important, you are decreasing the labor costs for asparagus farming, and labor costs is one of the highest costs in the total asparagus operation. So that's also nice. So let's focus on the climate impact now. We had a lot of yield information now. What we did is a more rough assessment on first on the emissions of asparagus production, and this is we just pick here a literature source for average emissions of asparagus production in Europe. You have about 0.9 kilograms CO2 equivalents per kilogram of asparagus from the different operation parts, and then we calculated the amount of the climate benefit of using the biochar in the field based on the sources stated here on the right side. So here we have this positive impact, and then we calculated the difference, and we get to a net climate impact of biochar application on the field trade amounting to about 7 kilogram CO2 equivalents saved per kilogram of asparagus. What is important here that this is information holds for the first year of cultivation. If later on if you cultivating more asparagus, then the climate benefit has been used up for this first year of cultivation. So you need to add more biochar if you just want to do it for the climate's sake later. We also did an economical assessment together with the farmer. Here we're on Stenhuset farm, who checked our assumptions there. I want to show it here. I'm first presenting the benefits for the farmer. We have the revenue increase measured in the field. This is what we've seen from results I showed earlier. And then we have the harvest amount that we had on site. And we have the highest benefit is really the revenue increase by having a high yield. We're also saving fertilizer. We assumed here that we could save 50% nitrogen based on the data on soil nitrogen that we took up. So we have a little benefit here. Of course, if we increasing the carbon content in the ground, we are also increasing the value of the farmland, and there is a large price difference between, for example, former peatland, which has a very good water storage capacity, and sandy agricultural land. And what we did is we looked what was the soil carbon increase that we measured, and then we used this as a proxy to for the value and land increase. And it's not making it's not a high contribution here, but it should not be forgotten. The farmer actually investing in the value of the land. We also storing carbon, which has the climate value, and now it's starting that it's possible to get money for that. Now here we assume that when you're receiving 500 kronos per ton of CO2, this is also value that we as a company that we donate to farmers that want to apply biochar in Gotland, then you have an additional value for the carbon storage. On the cost side, of course, you have costs for the biochar substrate. You will have costs for biochar application because it needs some work. And if you get more asparagus, that's very nice. But then you also have more labor because you also have to harvest this additional asparagus, so you also have a cost here. So we even accounted for that. And then if you make the balance of it, you get to a surplus of about 8,000 euros over 15 years. And if you relate this to your investment, if you're calculating over 15 years, you have a return on investment of about 10%, which is quite nice, and it's comparable to the investment in a solar system installation.
Yeah, now we would like to summarize the results. So we did see a positive impact of the biochar application on the soil fertility through decreasing the soil pH value, improve the nitrate, nitrogen, and ammonium nitrogen storage. We did see an increasing in organic carbon content as well. Another positive impact was on the groundwater pollution with nitrate. And we had a yield decrease for all of the 4 biochar treatments. In average, it was 7%. We can recommend now to prevent manure putrefaction via early biochar addition or aeration. The effective microorganisms might provide an additional benefit. And we could show that the climate positive crop production is possible with biochar application. And we could also see that the application of biochar is profitable for a high value crop production. Do you want to?
Yeah, I just want to add here that those two conclusions here on effective microorganisms and also on manure putrefaction, they are related to the harvest results of the first year. So if you want to know more about that, then it will be shown in the publication. But yeah, you can also then ask a question on that later.
Yeah, another part of the project was that we carried out a biochar map for Gotland. We did the GIS analysis, and we combined data from the Swedish national authorities. There we used data during drought conditions and in the near future, and we also use data to show how the biochar application can increase the nitrogen fertilizing efficiency. You see here one of those maps. They can be downloaded from our website, and those green areas here, those all of them get profit from biochar application. And in total, we have 26% of the arable land on Gotland, which would benefit from biochar. And after the project, we decided to take the next step from research to the market, and we started to develop a sustainable product for the Swedish market. And we use Swedish certified biochar from residues, and we do use only PRAV listed ingredients. PRAV is the organic label here in Sweden, and we implemented a deposit system to avoid packaging waste. The transportation is fossil-free or climate compensated, and the production is here on Gotland, and again with local partners. We started to sell the product in 2020 on the gardening sector, and from this year on also on the agricultural sector.
Yes, and so long we are importing the biochar, since there is no pyrolysis installation on Gotland yet, but we would like to have one on Gotland. We think that Gotland has very good conditions for pyrolysis plant, and we think that it might even be a good idea to combine pyrolysis production with electrofuel production on Gotland. Yes, so sorry, we got a bit. It took a bit longer than planned, but now we're looking forward for the questions.
Thank you very much. I think it was a really interesting presentation. I really enjoyed it. You did really an interesting work. I'm looking forward to read also your publication. Perhaps you could write in the chat or tell us the title of it, so we can find it easily as soon as it's published. If anyone has questions, again, you can use the Q&A or chat functions, and of course the panelists are welcome to unmute themselves and speak. I have a few questions actually. I was curious to know if like in this asparagus plantation you have applied biochar one year, right? As I understand.
Yes.
And how about, I mean, have you reapplied it, or are you planning to reapply it again, or?
No.
Okay.
Mm.
So, but you're selling then your biochar product on Gotland, right?
Yes.
And
no, we even so most was sold to Gotland. Now we got even. We also sold first. Was the first sale to the mainland also. We're not we're advertising it there yet, but somebody asked us, and
But I was curious if, I mean, you've tried with the asparagus. I was curious if you think other crops could benefit from your product in the same way as asparagus did.
Yeah. So based on based on the project result, I think what we see is the product increased soil water storage capacity and the nitrogen storage capacity and the soil carbon content, and I mean this should be helpful for most of the other crops as well. Of course, the pH, some plants maybe like it a bit even higher pH, but on the mainland you have also other conditions. So we think that, and I mean there's a lot of scientific literature available that biochar also helps for other crops, not on asparagus. But the main thing what we're showing is that it's interesting for a high value crop. And there, when we did the trial, we always thought, okay, asparagus, this is really high value. But what we now realized is that if you're doing the calculations for a lot of organic crops, vegetables, they also have really high turnover per hectare. So we're not now selling only to asparagus farmers, but also to other vegetable farmers. So we definitely think it's not only something that's only for asparagus.
Yes. I had another question because you had different biochar treatments, and they had like, do you have a favorite one, or do you think one is better than the other? Because
No,
the results were a bit, I mean, something was better in some parameters, and so.
Yeah. No, we don't really have a favorite one. But what we did like with our products also to draw from the conclusions from our treatment. I think there was one at one. So especially in the first year, what we see that is we had a little bit of yield increase on those with this German product with effective microorganisms, and we had a little bit of yield decrease with the manure blending, and the thing was interesting enough that the decrease was even higher with the higher volume of this manure blend. So there we thought we might be seeing really a microorganism effect in the first year that then over time weakened, because then later on there was no problem with this manure blending. But we think that if you want to apply manure, you should be careful and aerate it or be careful that you don't that you don't affect the microbiology in a negative way if you have purified manure, for example. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, just to understand, because the German mix, let's say, had microorganisms pre-added to it.
Exactly, and there was no manure in it. It didn't smell, and yeah. So there was really in this perspective there was really a lot of difference in the microbiology of the biochar blendings that we added, and we saw like large differences in the first year. That would correlate to the type of microorganism, but we didn't see it in the second year. And there we think it may be that just over time that those effects play a minor role, because also the farmer, I mean, this is a conventional farm. He's also using pesticides and so on. So maybe this microbial effect is beneficial in the beginning, but then later on you can't see it anymore. But yeah, it's just our interpretation. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat from Dominic asking, he says, thank you for your presentation, and to clear out your ROI calculation, you did consider only one biochar application for the 15 years period, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
The biochar will be in the ground for those 15 years. Maybe 15% of it will disappear in the first year, but the rest of it will be left for the 15 years. Yeah.
Good. We have two more questions. Bent is asking, how is the yield expected to change over time? Do you know?
Yeah. Now we have seen the results for 2 years, not longer. The financing we got was for 1 year, and we did the second year because we thought it would be good, and we are really happy that we did it. But as I said, it was like 15,000 shoots, and yeah, without money we couldn't go on. But we put magnets in the ground, and we also have the GPS coordinates. So if there's some financing out there, we're happy to go on with the trial later on. I mean, the farmer is just continuing with harvesting there, so it would be no problem to go on if someone's interested.
Yeah. But we did see a yield increase between the first year.
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
second
yeah,
year.
of course.
So this is this we
yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Then we have Navid asking, are there risks involved using biochar regarding chemicals or heavy metals, etc.? That's a general question.
Yeah, I think there are risks. So you should always it's always important to buy EBC certified biochar, and we're using only that for our products. Yes.
So of course it respects all the thresholds for heavy metals and so on. We have another question asking with which pyrolysis technology was the biochar made for this test?
It's from slow pyrolysis.
And actually, do you know, you said, I mean, the one from Sweden was coming from agricultural residues.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what type of residues? And also I was wondering if in view of having a plant on Gotland, have you assessed in any way like the availability of agricultural residues on Gotland and what kind of biomass is there?
Yeah. So from Sweden, it was from seed production, the biochar that we use, and so for Gotland, we want to focus on agriculture residues, and if we're using residues from the forest, it should be biomass that grows back fast to optimize the climate impact of the biochar product. Yeah. Try to, because I'm just currently trying to find the title for the publication that we're not getting. Oh, you can. Yeah. So,
in view of what's the, I mean, where are you in trying to install this pyrolysis plant in Gotland? Is it something that is being considered? Like, did you consider any technology, or who should pay for it?
Yes,
would you like to have your own pyrolysis plant?
No, I know we looked at different technology providers, and of course financing has to be solved. So there's some way to go. But yeah, I'm quite sure that there will be an installation about that in some years. Yeah.
Okay, the market for this kind of plants is is growing and expanding. So I'm sure you will have a few options to consider.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I have a question as well. Did you, before going large scale on the asparagus field trials, did you also conduct any greenhouse tests, or did you start directly on the field?
We started directly on the field. Now we get to the touch. Okay. So I put it on the chat. Because the title will not be changed. Some graphics, but this will be the title.
Perfect. We can also link it to the recording once it's published.
Yes.
Then it's easy to find.
Yeah.
I will type it to everybody because I think you only posted it to panelists.
Yeah.
But okay, so now everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have other questions. I don't know if anyone else has something.
I guess there's also the possibility of getting in touch with you directly, Sebastian and Anne, if there's questions from someone coming up afterwards.
Yes. Okay, so if there's nothing else, I will just say that, yeah, as usual, we recorded this webinar, so the video will be available on our website and maybe also on our YouTube channel that we are trying to open or have opened, but we have to learn how to use it. It will come out soon. And I will also say that we have another event coming up soon on the 16th and 17th of November. Am I right, Catherine?
Yes.
It's going to be a workshop about the use of biochar in an urban context. So it's a bit different context, but still very interesting. So everybody is welcome to sign up. The information is also you can find on the Nordic Biochar Network website. So yeah, we will have other webinars in a month or no, in 2 months, I think, before Christmas. But, you will get news about that as soon as we plan ahead. So I would like to thank you, everybody, very much.
Thanks a lot.
And yes, it was very nice to hear a presentation. I wish you a very good day and a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.